Good morning, Senators and Chair. First, I'd like to thank the committee staff for their attention and work on this bill. This bill is a policy that I believe is long past due to be enacted. Cat declawing is a serious surgery with the cat's final toe joint being removed or its tendons being severed. And here is a visual representation of what that looks like. My witnesses will talk more about this. And I believe that when it is performed for any other reason other than the health of the cat, then I believe it is cruel and inhumane. The bill would simply prohibit cat declawing surgeries from being done in California unless a licensed veterinarian is performing for a medical purpose for the health of the cat and not the convenience of the cat's parent. My witnesses will be able to describe the gruesome procedure more, but this surgery is not simply removing the claws, like as if you were cutting your nails. It's about cutting off the first digit of your fingers. So same thing here on a cat's paw and their fingers. It'd be the equivalent of taking off the first little digits of your fingers. Do the same cruel procedure. This is a common sense bill that says that the permanent disfiguring surgery cannot be performed for cats for any reason other than the health of the actual patient, the cat. And with me today in support is Dr. Jennifer Conrad and Dr. Barbara Hodges, who will talk more about this procedure.
Thank you so much. Ladies, 2 minutes each. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair and distinguished members of the committee. My name is Jennifer Conrad. I'm a licensed veterinarian in the state of California. And I just wanted to tell you that declawing is actually, should more appropriately called deknuckling. It is the equivalent of taking this cigar cutter and cutting off my last phalanx of each of my fingers. It's done solely for convenience. It's not done to protect cats in any way. It has no benefit to cats, and it benefits everyone along the line. Cats don't have to suffer 18 amputations, which causes them a life of pain. It's so predictably painful that it's used in clinical trials to test new pain medications. The people who have the cats don't have to suffer because declawed cats are less likely to use the litter box. When they come home from the surgery, they go to dig in the sand. It hurts so much they don't want to use it again, and they start biting. And as we know, the CDC and NIH say that declawing is not necessary to protect human health. It protects veterinarians who know morally and ethically that this is a wrong thing to do, and they don't get the pressure from their bosses or from the public to declaw cats. And it protects communities because they don't lose the taxpayer money when these cats lose their homes and they wind up in the pound. So I respectfully urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go right ahead. 2 minutes for you as well.
Good morning, Chair Ashby and members of the committee. I'm Dr. Barbara Hodges, a California licensed veterinarian representing the Humane Veterinary Medical Alliance, also known as Humane VMA. We are a national veterinary professional membership association and a proud co-sponsor of AB 867, and I am here to convey our strong organizational support for this bill. State veterinary medical associations often convey the impression they have a mandate to speak for all veterinarians in their states on a wide range of issues, and that most veterinarians support non-therapeutic declawing. But in fact, many veterinary professionals oppose non-therapeutic declawing. Across the country, our members have helped us successfully advocate to end convenience declawing in New York, Massachusetts, Maryland, and Virginia, and these states have ended declawing despite a lack of support or outright opposition from their respective state veterinary medical associations. And so, on behalf of our California members and the California veterinary professionals who signed our veterinary statement of opposition to cat declawing, which was attached to the support letter we submitted to this committee, Humane VMA urges your aye vote on AB 867 to protect California cats from the risks of unnecessary declaw amputations and their many potential negative after effects. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Are there others in the room with Me Too testimony? If so, please provide your name, position on the bill, and the organizations you are representing today.
Gary Cooper, representing the Paw Project, a sponsor of the bill. We certainly support the bill today and request your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Lizzie Kutsona here on behalf of Humane World for Animals, proud co-sponsor, and also on behalf of the City of West Hollywood and Cal Animals in support. Thank you.
Good morning again, Chair and members. Sosin Madden at W Strategies here on behalf of Animal Legal Defense Fund, a proud co-sponsor and support. Thank you.
Good morning. Kira Ross on behalf of the City of Burbank in support.
Jim Jensvold on behalf of Democrats for the Protection of Animals, and we are in strong support. Thank you.
Juliana Tetlow on behalf of the San Diego Humane Society in support.
Nicholas Sackett on behalf of Social Compassion in Legislation in support. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there lead opposition to this bill? If so, please come forward to the table. You will each be given 2 minutes when you are ready. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. I am Christina DeCaro, the lobbyist for the California Veterinary Medical Association, and the CVMA is opposed to AB 867. Our opposed position, though, is based on the overarching premise that we believe it's a slippery slope to have the legislature weighing in on the appropriateness of lawful surgeries. The veterinary profession has consistently prioritized animal welfare, as evidenced by the rarity of declaw surgeries performed today, and the decision by both California veterinary schools to cease teaching this procedure. We respectfully urge the legislature to recognize the profession's commitment to animal well-being and its ability to self-regulate, and to consider the potential consequences of future legislation seeking to regulate specific veterinary practices. The CVMA wants to thank this committee, particularly Chair Ashby and Alyssa Silva, your consultant, for the significant and thoughtful work that went into the crafting of the amendments in the June 17th version. Those amendments put the reference to the surgery in the proper code section. It removes the burdensome reporting requirement to the Veterinary Medical Board, and it makes other critically important changes. We also want to thank Assemblymember Lee for agreeing to accept these amendments, and I do have Dr. Grant Miller here from the CVMA in the back if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you very much. Next witness.
Good morning, Chair Ashby and members. My name is Jessica Sieferman. I'm the Executive Officer of the California Veterinary Medical Board. The board regulates the largest population of veterinarians and registered veterinary technicians in the nation. Its mission is to protect all consumers and animals by regulating licensees, promoting professional standards, and enforcing the Veterinary Medicine Practice Act. The board opposes AB 867. In general, the board members agree that declawing is no longer a common practice performed in the veterinary profession and should not be performed without consideration of the best interests of the animal patient. However, the board maintains that decision is best left to the veterinarian and the animal owner. In addition, the Practice Act does not specifically prohibit any medical procedures from being performed by board-licensed veterinarians. Rather, licensed veterinarians are able to practice all aspects of veterinary medicine without restrictions, so long as the delivery of care is provided in a competent and humane manner consistent with current veterinary medicine practice in California. Veterinarians are required to use appropriate and humane care to minimize pain and distress before, during, and after performing any procedures. The board is concerned prohibiting this specific medical procedure will set a precedent for other procedures for veterinarians to be prohibited in the future. With that said, the board appreciates the discussions with Assemblymember Lee's office and their willingness to remove the reporting requirement for veterinarians to file written statements with the board whenever they perform a declaw procedure. The board was very concerned any data collected would be subject to the California Public Records Act request and used to target veterinarians who are lawfully providing procedures. While the board's opposition remains, thank you, Assemblymember Lee, for listening to the various enforcement mechanisms the board currently has to enforce this bill if passed without the dangerous reporting requirement. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there others in the room in opposition to this bill? Me Too testimony? Seeing no one, we will come back to the dais. Yes, Senator Weber-Pearson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Assemblymember Lee, for bringing this bill forward. You know, I agree with the opposition when they talk about the slippery slope when you start regulating what people can and cannot do in their particular practices when their training trains them for things, and nationally their individual board or whatever says that it is safe if they follow certain guidelines. how many of these procedures are we seeing being done here in California on an annual basis?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I'd like to turn over to my witnesses to talk about it, but just a reminder right now is 22% of all cats right now are declawed, and this declawing is not a therapeutic practice for the most part. But if
thank you. Let me rephrase that. How many of these procedures that are being done without some kind of medical necessity?
I want to see if my either Dr. Conrad or Dr. Hodges want to talk about.
Well, when it's called declawing, it is done without a medical necessity. When it's called a phalangoectomy or the removal of a phalanx, that is with a medical necessity. When they're declawing, when they're amputating all 10 or 18 toes, then that is without a medical necessity. It's non-therapeutic.
So what's the percentage that is being done right now in California of those that are not medically necessary?
Well, nationwide, I don't know for California by itself, but nationwide, 22% of cats are declawed, so it's a lot.
Right. So the reason why I'm asking is because what you're proposing today is to establish a law here in California, and I need to know what the scope of the problem is, because we cannot pass something based on a national issue that may not necessarily be as great here in California, but could set precedent so that in the future when someone comes and they want to regulate practices in veterinary or even medicine, they can utilize this as, hey, legislature's already stepped into this space. So as far as the schools here, you stated that they're no longer taught how to do this procedure. When did that start?
A long time ago. I graduated in 2001, and they were no longer teaching it. So.
I'm sorry, you graduated when?
2001.
2001. Okay, and so is it practice for veterinarians to do things out of the scope in which they were actually trained to do?
So let's just make sure we're clear on who we're directing the question to.
Well, I was directing it to anyone, but I guess we're...
Okay, go. Come on.
Now we're going to...
It's okay, Madam Chair. I'll cede my seat to Dr. Miller. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Miller, tell us your title. I know you're here for technical assistance. Tell us your name and title, and then if you could answer Senator Weber Pearson's question.
Thank you. Dr. Grant Miller, California Veterinary Medical Association. As Dr. Hodges correctly said, neither of the two veterinary schools in the state of California have taught declawing in over 2 decades. Western University of Health Science actually has only been in existence for 2 decades, so they have never taught it. UC Davis ceased teaching it in the late 1990s. We have done surveys of our membership to ask them about declawing, and 80% of our members do not declaw cats anymore. Now, keep in mind, we don't represent all 13,500 veterinarians in our membership, but it gives you an idea. If we were to apply the metric of 22%, there are 7.4 million cats in the state of California. By the metric of 22%, that would imply that 1.7 million cats are declawed here. And I'm sorry, that is just not what happens in the state of California. We know from our membership that of those who do perform the procedure, it's done very seldomly. Of our members who say they do it, it's usually 1 or 2 per year that they're saying that they're doing. So the amount that happens here is far less than in other parts of the country.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for coming forward to help us with the technical question. All right, we also have Senator Menjivar and then Senator Choi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to respond to some of the comments regarding what type of bills we legislate. We've heard bills in this committee and other bills regarding things that happen in other states that's never happened in California, and we pass those bills every single time. Just because it's not a big number here in California, it's a nationwide number, doesn't mean that it's a problem, that it's not a problem here in California. Assembly Member Lee, I want to thank you for bringing this forward. I actually have a best friend who's an RVT, registered vet tech, and she has brought this up to me ever since we were friends, how big of an issue this is, and that people should just simply not have cats if they're going to come and declaw their cats simply because they don't want their couches to be scratched. I think this is completely inhumane. Even if it happens every once in a while, I think it's good enough reason to ensure that legislation gets passed. I just want to thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you.
Okay. I would like to ask some common sense question. I never had any cat, so I don't know the need for declawing, but common sense tells me maybe the cats are scratching by bad habit, injuring the owner or people. That may be the reason declawing. Is that true? No, what is the major reason for declawing?
Senator Troy, who are you directing your question
Okay,
to?
whoever who can answer.
Dr. Miller or?
Whoever who has ability to answer.
Okay,
Dr.
why don't
Conrad wants to.
okay, it matters. So, because they're not on the same side, so why don't we give you a chance to answer and then you a chance to answer both briefly and succinctly. Thank you.
Declawing is done most of the time to protect furniture. In fact, a study by the Southern California Veterinary Medical Association said that 95% of veterinarians are declawing to protect household furnishings. It's not done to protect human health because a declawed cat is more likely to bite because it has lost its primary way of defending itself. And so even the CDC, NIH, and U.S. Public Health Services don't declaw cats to protect human health because they bite more.
I see. My second.
Okay, I'm sorry, Senator Troy, go ahead.
I'll let the senator continue. Thank you.
Okay. You don't want to address the question? You have the same answer? That answer is...
Only insofar as to tell you that maybe in the early years when the procedure was developed, that was the common cause. But remember, we have adequately policed ourselves in reducing the amount that this procedure is performed. And when our veterinarians are telling us that they're performing the procedure, it's usually because the elderly patient is usually on chemotherapy, on a blood thinner like Coumadin, and they can't risk being scratched. Like it or not, that's what people are saying to us. That's what, when they come in the exam room and they're saying this is their problem, that's what they're claiming. Now, whether or not it's a good idea to declaw the cat for that matter is really what we're talking about here, because like Dr. Conrad said, they can be bitten. They can have other things happen to them. The CVMA changed its policy 2 years ago to indicate that we also discourage non-therapeutic declawing of these animals. We only want it to be done when there's a legitimate medical reason. Now, we believe a legitimate medical reason to be one in the human owner as well. If the owner is coming in and saying, we can't keep our cat because it keeps scratching us, can you do something? We believe that that's qualification to consider the procedure, but only after all other alternatives have been exhausted.
Okay, Senator Troy, is that question answered?
No, I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
Yeah, let me ask opposing witness, the author, Assemblyman Lee, illustrated that the declawing, the procedure is just like a chopping of our fingers. Is that true? Is it not the tip of it? Is it equivalent to what the illustration showed?
Yes, it's equivalent to removing the final digit of the paw. There are also other types of the procedure where you can sever the tendon to make the claw like unable to be retracted and extended. So there's versions of it.
If that is the case, then what is the healing time?
It doesn't heal.
I think the most of the time that this procedure is done, it's done when the animals are very young, and so the healing time is usually 1 or 2 weeks at the most. The cats have bandages on their paws. They have pain medications that's given to them. The veterinarians who have performed the procedure do not report that these animals are maimed for life or that they're permanently in pain. These animals seem to go on to lead very normal lives. But again, our doctors try not to perform the procedure. They try to provide alternatives. One such alternative, Senator, is the use of soft paws, which are caps that go on the end of the kitty's nails. Unfortunately, in the current form of this bill, we're not even allowed to apply the soft claws to the end of their nails.
Thank you.
Correct.
Assemblymember, did you want to chime in on that?
Yes, I would just say application of soft paws or any treatment to the nails itself is not banned by this bill. It's incorrect.
Thank you so much for that, because the way that the bill is written technically now, I'm very concerned about the board's future interpretation of the bill. When it says that any procedure that alters the function of the cat's claws is prohibited, that would be, for veterinarians, applying something to the end of the claw would mean that that's prohibited. So I'm very happy to hear that you're not interpreting it that way.
Yes.
Okay, that's something we can also follow up on afterwards too, to make sure the language is clear. Should the bill pass this committee, we'll we'll make sure there's clarification there as the bill proceeds. We still have time, right, Assembly Member? And you've been very diligent about following up on this bill. Okay. Senator Troy, you have all your questions answered?
Yes.
Great. Senator Archuleta.
Someone just, I believe it was one of the panelists, said this is not taught. This procedure is no longer taught. If it's no longer taught, why are we allowing the veterinarians even to experiment? I got to use the word experiment. And, well, this one worked, this one, well, I was never taught. And if we take pride in anything in California, is our professional medical doctors and nurses and everyone else for their technical training and expertise because of their training. So if there is no training, why are we even here to even allow this to happen? That is my comment.
Do you want to respond, Assembly Member?
No, I'll go on with the list of folk. I know you have other senators who want to speak. So.
I think we're okay. If you want to do that in your close? Would you like to address that in your close? Okay. I just have one comment, and then we'll hand it to you. First of all, thank you everyone for grappling with the issue. I want to applaud the author and his sponsors for being really responsive to this committee. We had a lot of help on this committee to try to find a pathway forward. It's an important issue, but we want to get the wording exactly right. For those of you who are here for something else and you have just heard this conversation, now you have a good idea of why it's so complicated. One word or one lack of a word can lead to two different interpretations, and we need to make sure that we stick the landing on this one. So I just want to make sure that, Assembly Member, if there's follow-up language that we might need to modify, I just want to make sure today that it's your intent for the bill not to change the tips that can be used as one alternative to this, because that may be very real, particularly in the cases that Dr. Weber Pearson was talking about, where there's a patient at home, a human patient who needs to be protected from scratching in some other way. So I want to make sure that that is your intent, and if we'll have the team look at it if it advances from this committee to make sure that everyone's satisfied that language still allows for those far less non-invasive procedures to occur to help folks who are at home who want to keep their pets with them.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to close on reiterating that this surgery we're talking about, which is non-therapeutic, is equivalent of taking off the first knuckle, right? So this is a cat's first phalanx, though it is a very big cat. It's a lion, right? Tiger. This is lions, just so that you can see it. Obviously, on a household cat, it's much smaller, but it's equivalent of taking off that part of it, right? So it is very painful. It is mutilation. And even though there are a quarter of our cats today that are declawed, obviously the population will hopefully shrink to near zero. There are other states right now that have ban this practice. As you see, the veterinary practice itself is phasing this out through education, through its vets. But as my witnesses talked about, you want to mitigate the pressure from the public who may not be up to date and knowledgeable about these things, and you don't want any pressure from their boss to do so. And also, as a proud cat parent, I can tell you the bite is worse than the scratch, because there are also other procedures out there if you're worried about furniture or human health. You can trim the nails, just like our nails, you can trim them, or you can put soft caps on them. You can do many different things. The most extreme option to preserve your furniture or your convenience is to cut off that phalanx, and for a cosmetic reason. Sure, there are many medical reasons and things that happen to the cats out there that need to happen, but I also want to talk about, to Senator Weber Pearson's question about how much of this is happening in the bill. I mean, working with the opposition, we removed the part about reporting it, so we would have reported to understand what is going on in the state, whether it's for therapeutic or for cosmetic reasons. We would have had a better sense of that. That is no longer in the bill, so we don't have a strong data point anymore, unfortunately. But I just want to reiterate the sense is that there are other states, there are other jurisdictions in California, even other cities that have phased out this practice. So you're hopefully going to see this number get closer and closer to zero. But it still fact remains that there are people out there, veterinarians and unfortunately cat parents, that request this procedure. And we want to make it uniform following other jurisdictions that it's no longer allowed and get us to the functional zero where no one has to get declawed. So I respectfully ask your aye vote.
All right. Thank you, Assembly Member.